Hi, my name is Jason and I'll be talking to you about designing and giving effective feedback to students in an industrial technology classroom. Now, there is no doubt that effective feedback plays a crucial role in students' understanding of knowledge and skills. Unfortunately, in many secondary classrooms, teachers and students often struggle in this feedback process. Students may complain that the feedback was unclear or unhelpful and as a result do not learn from this important process. Teachers also may have difficulties in the implementation and assessment of students' learning through this feedback process. It is understood that traditional models of giving feedback, such as unclear written notes or a brief description of outcomes, have proven to be disappointing and ineffective at developing student learning and self-regulation. Summary of the chosen article. The article I have chosen discusses effective feedback strategies in relation to developing students' knowledge and ability to learn. David Nicol and Deborah McFarlane explain how formative assessments can be used to help develop effective feedback that focuses on developing students' self-regulation. This feedback is a driving force for learning not only provided by the teacher, but also by the individual students and peers. The article gives research into the purpose of formative assessment that is specifically designed to give effective feedback to students on their performance in order for them to improve their learning. This form of learning and feedback is designed to develop students' ability to self-regulate their own learning, thinking, motivation, and overall performance. A desired result in developing student self-regulation is that they can intelligently set performance goals to be achieved and monitor and evaluate their own performance progress through a variety of feedback processes. An example of this could be providing performance criteria in which students can identify their own performance level. Those students who are better at self-regulation can provide better feedback that helps generate better performance and understanding for themselves. Traditional approaches to formative assessment and feedback have predominantly been in the hands of the teacher and not the student. This means that all feedback provided by the teacher is given to students by means of written or verbal response. This form of feedback has a weak impact on developing students' learning and ability. In higher education, formative assessment and feedback are still largely controlled by and seen as the responsibility of teachers. Teachers transmit feedback messages to students about what is right and wrong in their academic work, about its strengths and weaknesses, and students use this information to later make changes to their understanding. However, there are a number of problems with this transmission view when applied to formative assessment and feedback. This article identifies 7 principles of effective feedback practice for the classroom. These feedback practices are undertaken through formative assessments or activities with a focus on developing a student's self-regulation in their learning. Good feedback practice. Using the 7 effective feedback strategies in the industrial technology classroom. Feedback practice number 1. Good feedback helps clarify what good performance is. For example, goals, criteria, and expected standards. When it comes to teaching students in the industrial technology classroom, it is crucial that students are given appropriate feedback through a range of learning experiences from the beginning of an assessment all the way through to the conclusion. In order for students to achieve performance goals, it is important that they understand the goals, take ownership over them, and can assess their progress. Unfortunately, research shows that there is a mismatch between teachers and students' idea of what good performance goals and criteria look like. There are many strategies that can be used by teachers and students to help clarify good performance outcomes and goals. A marking exemplar or rubric is an effective feedback strategy as it allows students to identify performance goals and expected standards. In an industrial technology classroom, this feedback process could be further implemented through classroom discussion of the performance indicators, giving a more comprehensive explanation of goals, having students give peer evaluations of work and outcomes, and also using formative assessment to engage students in the development and goal setting of the assessment. This can be done at the beginning of a timber project, for example, where the assessment, where students can collaboratively set their own performance goals in conjunction with the teacher. Number 2, good feedback practice facilitates the development of self-assessment in learning. Self-assessment in students is the ability to evaluate their progress between existing internal tasks or goals and the outcomes set for an assessment. If a student can measure and reflect on their performance, then they are able to effectively make changes and decisions that will produce better work at a higher level performance. For this process to take place, it is important that teachers provide certain feedback activities to help develop students' self-assessment. For students in the industrial technology classroom, an assessment may be set where students are working on their project. In order for students to effectively monitor their own progress, it is important that the teacher systematically provides feedback activities that allow students to self-assess their progress and performance. A feedback activity in this setting could involve students in collaboratively activity where they are required to assess their own work as a group and to identify strengths and weaknesses as well as an understanding of the process for improvement. The reason for this type of feedback is to help students understand how they are progressing with their work and also what they can do to develop a better outcome. If a student can't measure how they are going, then they can't make appropriate changes to further improve their work. Number 3, delivers high quality information to students about their learning. Teachers play a crucial role as a source of external feedback to students. Teachers are far better at identifying errors or misconceptions in students' work than themselves of their peers. For this reason, teacher-to-student feedback is important as it provides students with a high level of clarification and understanding. Some feedback strategies for this process could be giving feedback that directly relates to their predefined performance outcomes and criteria, giving corrective advice to students' performance rather than just stating strengths and weaknesses, providing feedback on student work before submission. This allows students to make corrections and evaluations of their work. Feedback strategy number 4, encourages teacher and peer dialogue around learning. This relates to the previously discussed feedback strategy where teachers provide external feedback. However, for this form of feedback to be effective, it is important that students understand the feedback before they can make improvements. One way that students are able to further understand feedback given is through active dialogue between students and the teacher. Dialogue strategies such as peer discussion, teacher-student questions, and collaborative assessing are all ways that students can further evaluate the feedback given. In the industrial technology classroom, an example of this feedback strategy could be providing students a time to evaluate performance criteria as a group and develop questions on how to achieve the performance goal. Students may be required to make an evaluation on their timber design, but do not know the way in which they can make evaluations. Strategy number 5. Good feedback encourages positive motivational beliefs and self-esteem. Feedback given to students in the form of marks or grades can significantly affect students' self-esteem positively, but also negatively. For low-achieving students who receive a low grade, they may identify themselves as stupid or incapable. As teachers, it is vital that we help to develop student self-esteem, as this identity can directly affect a student's motivation to do well in future assessments or classes. Some feedback strategies for industrial technology could be to provide students with marks on their project or folio only after they have responded to feedback comments. Having time set for resubmission is a way to help students re-identify performance goals and make changes to their project before a resubmission. Strategy number 6. Good feedback provides opportunities to close the gap between current and desired performance. This feedback strategy relates to most of the other strategies that help students identify their own performance and how they can improve their work for better outcomes. Involved in this process is some activities that can be used in industrial technology during a project. One strategy that could be implemented by the teacher is to provide students a 2-stage timber project where feedback from the first stage can significantly help to improve the performance outcome in stage 2. Having a timber prototype of a design before construction, for example, allows the teacher to give feedback to the students on their prototype design, and this feedback can then be used on the final project. This allows students to make changes or identify performance goals or criteria as outlined earlier. Lastly, number 7, the good feedback provides student information to teachers that can be used to help shape the teaching. The final effect of good feedback is not just for students, but also for the teachers. In order for teachers to provide relevant and effective feedback, they themselves need to receive feedback on students' learning and understanding. If a teacher can understand how students best make use of feedback, then they can design effective feedback activities to aid student learning. Feedback strategies that can help collate student information could be having students request the kind of feedback they would like to receive when they submit an assignment, having students identify problem areas, and also having students collaborate and develop class questions about the assessment or outcomes. Using this in the industrial technology classroom could be done by giving out 1-minute papers where students are given a minute to quickly explain what they're having trouble with understanding or doing in regards to their timber project. These pieces of paper are handed to the teacher where some recurring questions are discussed next class. This is beneficial for both the teacher and the student as they have time to self-reflect on their learning or project. A way of including ICT in this feedback process could be having an open forum for questions and discussion by students with the teacher if they are having trouble and need some direction. This is beneficial as it is something that can be done at any time in the day. In reflection of the article has provided 7 principles of effective feedback practice that all have a similar focus, that is, to help improve student knowledge and understanding while developing self-regulation. Just as students in industrial tech learn in a variety of ways, the feedback given is also done so through a diverse range of styles and activities. Students receive feedback from not only the teacher, but from peers and their own internal assessment, also through collaborative ICT forums and more. All of these strategies aim to improve student motivation and ability to perform at a high level of achievement. As a student teacher, I value knowledge and ideas that can help develop my teaching ability. As teachers, we should all be striving to improve efforts and develop greater understanding of our students and how they learn. This article has provided me with valuable knowledge as to how I can design and give feedback that is meaningful to the students and their learning, but also to me as a teacher. These strategies will help me identify problems that students may have when given traditional forms of feedback, and also how I can give this new feedback to help develop their own self-regulation in learning. The article has provided me with a range of techniques that can give feedback to a diverse range of students in my industrial technology classroom. I hope that from this new knowledge I can give effective feedback for future students for the years to come.